evening. Welcome to Bridging the Gap for the December 12th, 2018 version of the show. And the broadcast tonight is brought to you in cooperation and with great assistance from the volunteers at Bolingbrook Community Television. I'm Mike Lawler, your host. And tonight we've got a really interesting show. I'm really excited about this. We talked about this several months ago. And as our viewers may have come to understand, we're trying to focus on things that are going on around Bolingbrook and opportunities for folks or organizations that are doing good things in the community. And I'm excited to feature some folks tonight, two of whom I know and two I met tonight. I'm very proud to have met, who are already doing some great things in the community, but they're volunteering time, and there's an organization that's been around since
1954.
54. I heard that. And so we're going to talk about SCORE tonight. But the reality of the organization, and we're going to do some great history discussion about it, the reality of the organization, it's people coming together to help folks who are interested in starting business. So before I get to introductions, I was given one interesting stat. And I'm going to pause my answer so the folks at home I'm not going to give you enough time to go to the internet to find out the answer, but what's the percentage of all the businesses in the U.S.? What do you think the percentage of small business is out of 100%? And we'll do the Jeopardy count, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 99.67% fall under the category of small business. So you think of all the huge corporations, and in Bolingbrook we've got 30 corporate offices who are delivering services and product worldwide. 99.6% of the businesses in the U.S. are small business. And this organization is one that works very hard outside of their normal day job to energize and mentor and help someone who is interested in trying to survive as a business. Maybe that's right, maybe it's wrong. We're going to find out in a minute. So with me, I've got 4 great folks tonight, 2 that I know. So why don't we start? Ed, why don't you introduce yourself and give us a perspective as to how you fit into this picture.
Hi, my name is Ed Peter Lunds. I'm the SCORE Fox Valley chapter chairman. I've been with SCORE for roughly 3.5 years. We're an all-voluntary organization. As Mike said, we've been in existence actually starting in 1954, and one of the founders of SCORE was a gentleman by the name of Maurice DuPont, part of the DuPont family.
I think we're familiar with some of their products.
And how this all came to be is a really interesting story. At that time, a mandatory retirement age for people was 65. And Maurice and a group of other ex-DuPont executives said, well, we want to do more than that. We're not completely, atrophied yet. So they began this process to help small businesses, people who wanted to start a business or people who had an existing business that was not running on all cylinders.
Okay.
So they started this, don't ask me how in the mid-50s, but word spread. And suddenly there
wasn't something like the internet back then.
There was nothing like the internet at that time, right. But word spread, and suddenly you started having a chapter open up in New York City. You had chapters opening up in Chicago, LA, across the country. And so they were kind of a very loose-knit organization at that time.
Okay.
And then 1964 came along, and that was the Small Business Administration Act that basically said, it was an congressional act that said the federal government will, try to provide loans for small business and insure those loans, I should say, not give the loans, but help insure the loans. So part of that caveat was if they were going to loan the money, they needed folks who could mentor the people who received the money and basically make sure that, they were going along and, the business was heading in the right direction. So the federal government had really nobody to do this. So they heard about this loose-knit organization called SCORE and said, geez, will you be a part of our, of our function of the small business? And the folks said yes. And so that's how this all came about.
Okay. So how do you fit in? Let's say you're the chapter
Chairman.
lead, chapter chairman. Is there a day job besides that?
No, I'm retired, but we do
you
have
fit the
several
profile.
folks in our organization who are currently working.
Okay.
So that's not a restriction.
Good. I'm going to have the rest of the folks introduce themselves. Then I want to come back to the model. And I do have some recollection of the story that you told me reminded me of another organization, probably SCORE, that was in place that I heard about several years ago. So, Michelle.
Yeah, so my name is Michelle Smith. People call me a strategy rock star, and I am a business coach and consultant, and I work to save my clients time, money, and frustration by coaching them to work smarter, not harder.
Okay.
And how that ties in with SCORE is it really just gives me that opportunity to give back and to help other people to be able to, as you mentioned, these 99% of businesses, it's overwhelming. And a lot of those small businesses are starting them while they're also doing a day job. And so it's a lot to balance that, or also doing it while they're moms like I am. I have a high schooler and a fifth grader, and it's a lot to balance. And before starting my own business 5 years ago, I worked for 20 years for lots of different companies, both nonprofits and for-profits, which also is a great tie-in for SCORE because they help both as well. And it's all of the stuff that I did during those years, I'm now able to help other people to have more of a work-life balance as they're doing those things. Because when I worked for other companies, that was hard to do. So it's a personal mission of mine to really help people with that.
You know, and I'm in the corporate world. Corporate, I think there's a disclaimer that you have to sign as part of the hiring papers that, anything that you develop while you're employed by this company is the property of the company. And I'm paraphrasing, but, it's not uncommon to have that there. So it's really hard to take that stuff and be able to share. One, the day job would like you to focus on delivering excellence for the day job. And it's really hard to give back to others. So I think there's a bit more freedom. Now, you help in some other ways. I'm going to have you share a little bit, because you and I have worked together in some other things. You help with the Bolingbrook Chamber and the Romeoville Chamber.
I do
And,
with both of them. Yeah, with the Bolingbrook Chamber, it's a nice initiative they're in the process of starting. We're in still the committee stuff. It's going to be launched next year, but they're really trying to help these smaller businesses too and be able to, especially businesses who are maybe failing or have maybe been going on for a while and they just need some extra support. Maybe they need some help with their QuickBooks and they don't know how. And so the Chamber's really using that as an opportunity to not only help these businesses, but also to connect them with people who are already Chamber members. And it's a win-win on both sides. They're helping their Chamber membership as well, helping them get business and get support both at the same time, which is really cool. And I'm an ambassador with the Chamber as well, and I lead the Chamber's Bang 2 networking group, which is a great referral resource group.
The acronym is Bolingbrook Area Networking Group 2, because there was a 1, and I think there's a 3 or soon to be 3.
Yeah.
But we'll talk more about that in a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So you've been on before.
Yes, I've been on. I'm back now. So my name is Nancy Castellanos. I'm the Deputy Director at the Fountaindale Public Library here in Bolingbrook. So how that fits into with SCORE is we provide the space for meetings and programming. And so we have the SCORE, provides the volunteers to teach these great programs, but they need to be held somewhere. And so that's where we come in. We have our meeting rooms and we're hosting different events during the year. We're also providing just space. As Michelle said, a lot of small businesses start as a second job. And so a lot of these businesses are being run out of homes. And you might not have the resources at your house, but we have a lot of resources at the library that are available to our community.
I want to come back to that, and I remain impressed with the staff and services of Fountaindale Public Library, and the facilities that are there.
Yes.
So we're going to dive back into that because, to your point, entrepreneurs or folks trying to start their business, need to know the facilities that are available to them in
Yes.
town. So we'll come back to that. And if we don't, throw
Oh,
something
yes,
at me.
I will bring it
and
back.
we'll come back to it. All right.
I am Volante Grant, and my background is graphic design, and that kind of migrated into digital media and social media. Everything started moving. So what I do for my clients is make it all make sense. When we all went to college, there was no internet. And so now I see a lot of businesses struggling to get with the times and do what we need to do to
And
get
I'm in
seen.
IT, so I'm
Yeah,
struggling as well.
you never stop learning. And I think that's a great fit for SCORE because when you're an entrepreneur, you may leave a corporate environment where you have a marketing team, an HR team, an IT team, and now you're all of those teams. So through SCORE, I can help people figure out how to get everything done and still have time to focus on your actual industry and keep all of these other moving pieces working together.
The key thing, and this is what I have many friends who are in business for themselves, and what those who have succeeded, and there's all kinds of reasons where someone may not succeed, but it's the importance of knowing your personal strength, what you're good at, and partnering with somebody else, or finding that resource to fill in the gaps. No one has 100% of the skills and capabilities that they need to succeed as a business owner. So your services and Michelle's and the whole idea of SCORE really helps fill in the gaps. Now, strategy rock star. We had a name for you before. we
Oh,
went on the
social
air.
media maven.
Social media maven.
Thank you, Tony Greathouse.
I wanted to make sure we got that out. And,
Okay.
and nicknames are fun, but it's all a part of marketing as well.
It
Because
is.
if you're known for that, and they can the thing that makes people remember is some unique phrase and something that they can hook. The hook is what they
That's
call it, I think. So that's social media maven. Okay.
And to tie into something you were just saying, and I think we're going to talk about it later, but I just want to connect the dot right now. What you were saying about how a lot of times people don't get to dive into what they're really passionate about in their
Exactly.
business, right? There's so much that they're doing. So Volante and I are pairing up to do a boardroom boot camp for business women.
Right.
And we're doing it at the library. It's a roundtable that's happening once a month in the next year, starting in January.
Yes.
But the foundation of it is that exact idea, because so often businesses are scattered all over the place. So we're going to start them in January, really getting them laser focused on what's your big thing and how can you let other people help you with all the rest, and really get them laser focused, and that's going to build throughout the year. So we'll talk
Good.
about that more later, but it's built on that concept, and that's
Exactly.
why, because it's so hard for businesses.
It is, and many people come up with this idea about how they're going to live their passion, become millionaires and billionaires off of that, and they forget of the pieces that they may not be aware of. I think I've learned a term over the years: the most dangerous position you can be in is not knowing what you don't know. And and so I think this program that we're going to talk about tonight is a really good thing. So let's go back to the history a little bit, Ed.
Okay. SCORE. What does SCORE mean? We're not the radio station that everybody thinks of in the Chicago area. And probably one of our biggest challenges is getting out information to people to understand who we are and what we do. We always said we're the best kept secret out there. Again, going back to who SCORE is. At one time, it was thought of, the connotation of that was the Service Corps of Retired Executives.
And that's the acronym that I came to understand several years ago.
And we decided in the past year to change that for
Okay.
a number of reasons. But most importantly, what our goal is now, or what we say we're all about, is helping people succeed in business. That's what we're doing.
You may have to work on the acronym.
We did, but we can't get rid of the acronym yet, but we're really focused on helping people succeed in business.
And that's
Yeah.
the perfect
Right.
mission.
And SCORE is an all-voluntary organization. Even though we are funded by the federal government, we're part of the SBA budget. We're a line item on that budget, I should say, but we're a separate entity. There are actually 30 paid people who work for SCORE in Washington, D.C.
Of course.
And we have to go up to the Hill every year to try to get funding for what we do. So I guess I can tie that in to say we, like any business or organization, you have to provide statistics to people. And the latest statistics we have are from 2017. Again, remember, we're a nationwide organization. We have roughly 11,000 volunteers across the country. We have 330 different chapters, and I'll get into that a little bit later. But in 2017, we helped form 54,000 businesses across the country, new businesses. And we believe the statistics also in terms of jobs that created over 120,000 jobs.
That's
So-
a great number.
and
That really
that's
is.
all voluntary work. Again, we got the best prices around. We're free. We do all of this for free.
Yeah.
We do one-on-one mentoring with folks. We also provide, as you were just discussing here, workshops and business roundtables where we help educate folks in terms of business using our own internal resources. As Volante and Michelle, we also bring in outside expertise to talk about various things. So we're educating, our goal is to help educate the communities in terms of business and provide one-on-one mentoring to help them succeed in business.
That's great. And Michelle talked about it, but we talked about it before we went on the air. Business must be only for profit, but that's not the case.
No, actually, SCORE can help both for-profit businesses and nonprofit businesses. And we're one of the few organizations can do that. If you went into the SBA's, I would say, bylaws or how it's written, they can only work with for-profit businesses. And we can work with nonprofits. It's a rather new initiative with SCORE Fox Valley, but we're just starting to break into that. And we will be forming a nonprofit institute, which we will then provide workshops for nonprofits and help educate them in terms of making, their organizations successful.
I was part of a forum in the past several months where, and we're trying to share the information throughout Will County, but this was down at Joliet Junior College, and it was a fascinating forum trying to bring businesses, local governmental agencies, and not-for-profits together and figure out how to more efficiently and effectively work with each other. And so you're fitting in, the future of SCORE is fitting in very well because nonprofits need to think like a business. And in many cases, it's a bunch of good-hearted folks who get together and may or may not have the skills to make it happen, but there's some legalities in there and there's some ways to run a business, which we've talked about. Marketing, for one, helps. So that's the national organization. How many chapters altogether?
Roughly 330 chapters
Okay.
nationwide.
Okay.
We are the Fox Valley chapter. We have approximately 95 members. Now, one of the other value-added things that SCORE brings is the diversity that we have in SCORE. We have ex-attorneys, ex-CPAs, social media experts, the folks that what Michelle does, people who had their own businesses. So when a client comes to us and says, I have a problem, we're like a reference library that we can say, okay, I may not have that expertise to help the client, but I know these other 3 or 4 people who can help them. So we're looking, at their total case and bringing in, specified or people with the specific background to help them with specific questions.
Now, I'm going to go a little bit different here, and I think this is going to help bring out the point that we want to cover. Let's talk a day in the life. So someone comes up with an idea, and how do they find out about SCORE? And let's presume they found out. What's the process that they go through?
The process that they go through is we have them go through our online and request a mentor program. We give them the, where to find that, how to do that. Once they come in, we then assign them to a mentor. And then that mentor sits down with them, and we actually like to do not one mentor, but 2 mentors if that's possible. So you have, 2 sets of eyes and ears, listening to the client.
And perspectives, perhaps.
Exactly. You're getting, different perspectives. I've sat in ones where we've had 4 different mentors sitting in there, and those are interesting. But what we usually do with clients is the first thing is understanding who the client is, understanding what their needs are, okay? Our job is to help convert ideas to viable businesses that make money. How can we monetize your idea? That's where we come in. That's where we help with business plans. That's where we ask specific questions. And again, we always say this. We're not consultants. If we were, we'd be charging for this.
Getting quite a bit of money.
But we're mentors, okay? And what we do is we point people into the right direction. We ask a lot of questions. We tell them where to go to find the research on a specific problem that they're dealing with. And we help in that regard. And then we just try to bring it all together for folks who are wanting to start a business as proof of concept, really, is what we're looking for. And then on the other side of the coin, we have a lot of businesses come to us, and right now about 50% of our clients are in business, believe it or not, coming to us saying, hey, I have this business, it's kind of functioning, but it's not functioning quite the way I want it to. How can you folks help us?
At least they recognize that.
Yes.
And that leads in and addresses the question of how do they engage your services. So you've got individuals with ideas, and maybe they're operating individual business, but somebody who's starting up and an established business who can come in and engage your services.
Yes, yes. And we've had everybody from doctors to lawyers come to us, professionals, as well as people wanting an online business or opening a brick and mortar place or a food processing. So it's a real diverse group of people who come to us. And we don't refuse anybody.
Yeah.
We're like the Statue of Liberty. We take in everybody.
And it is interesting because as I think of the challenges, I was involved in the healthcare industry, and there's insurance billing became a lot more exact and changed its whole profile. So doctors needed to get billing specialists or engage with services like that. They're used to doing checking the patient, diagnosing them, and getting them fixed. They're not good at knowing how to bill to make sure they get paid. So this is you recognize the gaps and go from there. We talked about who can secure services. How long do you typically engage? How long is someone typically engaged? Now I know it can go,
It's all over the board. We will stick with, I've had clients I've had for 3 years. I've also had clients where we've had one meeting and we kind of come to the conclusion that maybe it's not a viable business idea. And those, we hope to minimize those, but we do have those. But I would say average, we're probably 5, 6, 7, 8 times we're mentoring. And then people will go away, and then maybe a year later they come back and go, I got this thing started, but wow, I didn't realize that was a problem. Can you help me with that?
yeah. So they
that's how this
come.
works.
They've got the foundation laid. They need
yeah.
to go to the next level.
Yeah, yeah.
Good.
So.
So you've got some great volunteers, and you've got folks who come from different backgrounds. Besides the Small Business Administration, from which you receive some funding and support and some guidelines, are there other organizations that you'll work with in the area?
Yes, we work with the SBDCs, if you're familiar with who they are.
Let's spell that out. Besides SBDCs.
Oh boy, you're asking me a challenging question.
Yes.
I always know that by the
What does that acronym
Small
mean?
Business Development Center.
Centers.
Right?
Small
Yes.
Business Development Center.
And in the state of Illinois, that was down to one in Lisle.
Okay.
And now they've expanded a bit. There's one, I believe, in Waubonsee. Lisle is still open, and there's still a couple more that being funded now to help them. And they help a lot of folks with, gee, I want to get a minority contract. How do I do that? I want to get a governmental contract. How do I do that? That's their expertise.
Okay.
But we change clients. We'll go to clients and say, look, we don't have all that expertise. Why don't you go here? And
Good.
those folks can help you. And they'll come back to us with clients who come to them and say, we understand that, but we don't understand the business they're in. Would you guys help them out? So we work with that group
It's
quite
a good
bit.
cooperative
Yes.
arrangement.
We also have a group of folks we use as score referrals, because it can get down to sometimes that I can't answer that question. You really need to see an attorney. And we've made agreements with accountants, attorneys, various other professionals, that they will refer people to them, and usually they will give a person a free hour of time to basically answer those questions. So those are some of the other partnerships we've engaged in. Recently, we've engaged with another partnership with the U.S. Minority Contractors Association.
Okay.
And these are minorities wanting construction contracts. And again, a lot of those folks, the actual organization can help them in terms of construction, but not necessarily business planning and things like that, saying, how does my business work? So we've just started that relationship. Those are a couple examples of
Good.
whom we work with.
So Fox Valley is the name of the chapter, and
Yeah.
there are 330 chapters across the country. I think of Fox Valley as, out near Aurora and the Fox River and Fox Valley Mall and a little bit west of here.
Okay.
So where does Fox Valley cover in SCORE's world?
Well, Fox Valley covers an 8-county area surrounding Cook and Lake counties. We go from Will County all the way up to Winnebago County. We're starting to work the Rockford area to get some, volunteers out of that area. So we cover a very large geographical area. The other 2 SCORE chapters locally there's one that covers just the city of Chicago, and then another one that covers basically from Howard Street to the Wisconsin border, basically, northern Cook and all of Lake County. So we kind of divide up the areas we're in. The other thing to point out, you ask about partnerships, we've done a very good job, these folks have done a very good job developing the Bolingbrook Library. But we're probably in 16, 18 other libraries across that 8-county area where we do similar things that we do in Bolingbrook, where we're offering workshops and roundtables.
Good. I want to do one last thing,
Yes.
and I want to break into the local area. And that is, how does someone who's interested in helping, I know we're going to put up some information on the screen about where to get contact, but how do you identify folks, or how do you recruit? You've done a good job with 2 folks here tonight, and 3 who's helping out and understands the importance of it, but how do you identify, or how does someone who is interested in helping find you?
You can go to our website, and that's how a lot of people find us.
Okay.
But we're getting a little bit more proactive with that lately. We're actually, we've got a Facebook page that we do with that. We've set up a Google number that people can call.
And let me, because I set one up for an organization I'm involved in. So Google offers the ability to set up a phone number and route it to other phone numbers, just
Right.
for those who haven't dealt with that yet. But I've had that. I've got 3 numbers ringing to my cell phone, so through Google.
And we do those are the ways we're finding clients. We're getting much more proactive, that at all of our events, we have brochures now of, would you like to be a recruit? Here's some of the things that, you can do. And again, we're really trying to find folks, we're trying to provide value to the client by finding people who have some knowledge that can bring value to those clients.
Right.
So we're always looking for that, of anybody who has any form of business knowledge, we'd like them to be a part of our organization, and it's voluntary.
As I think about this, and you're probably doing this already, but I think about the original charter was a bunch of retired executives who wanted to continue helping and thriving. And the more we talk about that, the memory comes clearer as to how that was going on. But I'm thinking of interacting with corporations or businesses as they can get the word out internally for those who, they've got benefits administrators who are working with those heading towards, I remember going to seminars about retirement and planning for that. So that, I'll just offer that may be a way to reach into some of the larger corporations and pick, get your pick of folks and have the HR folks do some recruiting on your behalf.
Great idea.
Yeah, we've done a little bit of that. We did something with that earlier this year with Caterpillar.
Yeah.
That basically we went in and did a presentation of who we are, and you know, again, offering that to people who are going to be taking some early retirements, you know, as an option to fill their time with productively.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's very enriching. So, as I think about the idea popped into the head in my head of ways to continue to get the word out. But yeah, I remember SCORE decades ago
We also have other corporate sponsors nationally.
okay.
Google is a SCORE sponsor, or a sponsor of SCORE. FranNet would be another, and these are all organizations, you know, that help people, you know, in business.
Good.
So we have a number of actual corporate sponsors nationally who we work with also to bring in and tap into their resources to help educate folks.
Good. Well, thank you.
Listening to you made me think too of all my fellow Rotarians. I'm just thinking of the meeting I was sitting at I'm in the Romeoville Rotary, and a bunch of retared individuals sitting there
Yes.
who are like, yeah, maybe interested in that. So as I'm out in Rotary, I'm going to spread the word for you too. I didn't think of that before, so thanks, Mike.
So I want to roll into the folks from Bolingbrook and how that got started. The Bolingbrook organization, and within Fox Valley. So one last point. Within Fox Valley, how many communities is SCORE represented in today? You talked about 8 counties, probably more than 1 or 2. I'll leave that question for later. We'll do some research, and
Okay.
I'm not going to put you on the spot there because I didn't ask you that ahead of time. So but the important point, and this is where I want to roll into, how did the Bolingbrook organization get started? And who wants to share that story?
Well, I think the person who actually could best answer that question is
not up here.
Is in the
Behind
other
the
room.
screen.
It's in the other room.
But if you'd like me to embellish the story, I will take a shot at this.
I'm not sure if you can embellish the story because the person who got it going and is a pretty good storyteller, but
Yeah,
and a good author too. So I think Tony Greathouse is the person who reached out to you.
Yes.
Yeah.
But let's talk about how a community organization and
Yeah.
can get going.
Yeah, Tony was phenomenal because she had this great idea after herself using SCORE for many years and thought, hey, I want to give back and I really want to help. And there were a lot of us that she was already connected with.
Right.
So she first talked to Ed, find out, hey, is this possible? And I believe as I heard about the story, I'd said, well, if we can have a location, and then Nancy was pulled in, right?
Right.
And so then getting Nancy pulled in as far as location and secure, then Tony came out to the rest of us, and there's 9 of us she pulled together, all
Right.
in different areas. A lot of those areas of expertise, and a lot that Ed highlighted earlier. I mean, we have people in like food manufacturing as you know, one of our areas. There's
Yeah, food manufacturing. We have the cleaning service, coaching, graphics, finance. So we really have a good group of people. And like we were saying about Tony, I think what she brought together is the community of Bolingbrook. She has her pulse.
Yeah.
She has the pulse of the community at heart.
She tends to do that.
Yeah, and it was really good. And the women in our meetings, we're so glad to get together. It's a great organization, the 9 of us. And I think with the SCORE and with the library and with the actual just community of Bolingbrook, it's blossoming into a great experience for us. So yeah, Tony was kind of that person who brought us all together. She knew Ed, she knew Michelle, she knew me, she knew Nancy, she knows you. And so she kind of just pulled us together to really be able to service our communities. And we all wanted to, but we didn't know how.
Yeah.
So once we got together and put our heads together, we were able to do it.
She's such a visionary. Like
Yeah.
the things that she thinks about the future, and you know, those who know Tony well knows there's always some great idea she's got, and,
Yeah.
and now how we can help her carry it out. And the
Exactly.
cool thing about that, I think, is not only is she impacting the Bolingbrook community with this work, SCORE has a great women's area as well across the nation, and so she's tying in with that too, and trying to take a lot of what we've been doing here in Bolingbrook and spread that nationwide, which is really cool.
So I want to talk about that in a moment because this is, that's a groundswell of activity. The spark was set and things are working well. So now you're reaching back out in a let's say a targeted group who can certainly benefit. So going from a wide range of businesses and offering that, and then at the same time, I'm going to call it flying on two different levels, and being able to affect anyone who is in need, but then laser focusing in on women. We're going to come back to the event and some of the events in a moment, but I think we've got some graphics that show some of the folks involved. Who are the others? You talked about 9. Who are the others? And I know one, but who are some of the other?
So we have
Lisa Marsh, B. Reyes, Robin McBroom, Marty Barton, yeah, and then that's you, that's me, that's 6.
Deirdre McGee.
Deirdre McGee. And
She's got her image up there. Who are we
Okay.
missing? Tony.
Oh,
Right in the
Don
top
Dretta
middle
Strong.
there. Yep,
Don
Don
Dretta
Dretta.
Strong. So that's the 9 of us.
Yes.
I thought we might have a graphic up there, but I was checking
Testing
to
our
make sure
memory
you
first.
knew who you're working with. So
Oh, yeah.
good, and that's a good core. And
is.
you're right. The folks who are the 9 are very involved in different ways and have exhibited ongoing commitment to community. So I think you partnered well.
Yeah, and I think similar to Tony, none of us think small. I mean, if we're in a room and someone's like, "Oh, let's try to get 20 people," we're all like, 20? You meant like 20,000 to 200?
Exactly.
Like we think big and big impact and big
Yeah.
results and
And I think that's
Yeah.
important for women as well in business, finding that place and just sending the message that it's okay to think big. If you want $1 million, go get $1 million, and SCORE will help you do that. So I think that energy is spreading, and it will help Bolingbrook because we want the small businesses here. You said that 99% of the businesses are small business, so we want those businesses to flourish, and then Bolingbrook grows, and it flourishes as well. And the women are naturally nurturers and builders and multitaskers, so we see ourselves at the beginning or the front end of something really huge. We're
Yeah.
really excited about this.
yeah.
And you're bringing up a point that I want to cover. Tony certainly got a hold of Ed, or met Ed, and brought the idea. But I want to hear from each of you how you chose, what got you excited. And I think there's different perspectives. So you just gave a bit. Nancy, I'm going to have you share.
Well, I think for me is, I represent the library and we're here to serve our community. And as Ed said, SCORE is one of the best kept secrets. And I'm out there trying to promote the library because sometimes people don't know about it. But I can use that to promote the services such as SCORE because as I become more involved in the community and I get to know the community, you get to know the people who are volunteering, and you realize there's so much talent here and you want people to know this. So that's what really got me involved. Like, I want to get the word out there. But also it's an easy way for somebody who might be thinking of doing a business, who's not even at the I have a small business step yet, who doesn't know how to get started. It's a good entryway to start attending the programs and see who's attending and see how these women get started or how the people who are there get started. And they don't have to jump into the mentoring because SCORE offers so many other things, so that by the time they're ready for mentoring, they already built themselves a community of people that have been attending the programs. And that's what really brought me in. I want to promote that, to let people know at any level that you are, we're here to meet your needs. And that's
Yeah.
what got me
One of
interested.
the other fascinating things you've touched on, what you do in terms of workshops, you might want to explain what a business roundtable is and how that's utilized with folks.
Yeah, we're gonna walk through because there's a whole set of programs, and I want to go back to the one that I attended at the library, and start with that. Is there any other reason that got you anything different?
Yeah, like for me, I'm always looking to give back and how can I give an impact? Like in those 20 years I worked with other people, doing like working tons of hours and not spending a lot of time with my family and being so worn out, but doing it to help other people's families. And then I look and it's like, I'm not even helping my own family. What is this about? You know? You learn so much along the way. And a lot of it doesn't matter how time and technology changes. The basics are still the same. It's
Right.
still, the processes are still the same. It might be some stuff is tweaked in terms of tactics, but the foundation's still the same. And so I'm in it for the love of not making people start from scratch and relearn things that I've already learned, that these other women have already learned. And having Tony reach out and have such a great, group of other women who are just really amazing to be able
Driven.
to be with. Driven and like-minded. Like,
Exactly.
who would want to say no to that? And to be able to do it alongside an organization like SCORE that's been around for years and be able to support them as well. It's just total win-win all around.
It is. And for me, I have a B2B. So I see a lot of businesses fail. You come to me, you get a logo, you get all of these graphics done, and then I hear 6 months to a year later that you failed. Okay, I did my job and you paid me. So I don't feel good about that
Right.
because now you failed and I feel like I want to give you your money back, but I can't do that,
Right.
you know? So
Kind of have to eat and
Right.
maybe
Have to
pay
be spent.
mortgage or
So-
something like that.
I love it because I made a lot of mistakes myself. So now I can help you not to fail. So now it's not just me making a transaction, doing my job, getting paid, and you go out of business.
Right.
It's me going that extra step to make sure that you're actually able to utilize the services I provided for you. And that's important to me because I want to see everybody succeed. And then so SCORE is just a great way to do that. And even with the library, the resources at Fountaindale are amazing. I could not be where I am in business without Fountaindale. So those are all things I want to share and let people know. These resources are here for you and you can succeed. So that's why I really
Especially
want to do
that
this.
Studio 300.
Oh, yes, yes.
Huh? Amazing.
Yeah, there's some pretty cool stuff going on there. Pretty cool stuff. So what I'm seeing, and I've been in town since '86, and I've been amazed at the thousand. We're now 76, 77,000 people. Huge business force, small and large. But the thing that continues to ring true is there's so many talented people with so many different backgrounds, different industries, individual skills, professional skills, and as we've talked about so far, no one can do 100% of what they need to do. And so they need to find, and so I love Bolingbrook for the fact that we've got so many talented people living in town, and other towns do too, but I just, it's amazing to see the connections, and this is a great example of it.
It is.
Being able to, and I like the point that you made, being able to, you want to see someone succeed, and being able to connect them with resources. We talked earlier about who do you partner with, and how do you connect with other organizations. You're a business person who is very good at targeted piece of the overall pie of business, and you're able to connect them now
I love that.
and get some other resources. So how are we getting the word out?
So I think, so SCORE has their website, and they're promoting, they list all the events that are going on. The library is taking on a lot of the promotion too. We put it on our newsletter, we put it on our Facebook. We have our staff promote it as well. And then we have other organizations such as The Village is going to promote it in their billboards, and the Chamber of Commerce does email blasts. So we're trying to reach the community from every angle. If you are a chamber member, you'll get it through that way. If you are a user for the library, you'll read it through our newsletter. If you're driving down the street, you'll see it on the billboard. So we're trying to reach everyone the way we can.
Good. Yeah, and we do have the electronic billboards and growing that so that can help. And I know the chamber does blasts all the time, and the
Yes.
library does a great job of getting the word out. Let's go back, just take for a moment and go back to the event that I was excited to be attending, but was at the library. Let's talk about that, and then I want to break into some of the programs that are going to be going on But let's talk about the past first.
So the one that we did in March is called Million Dollar Women, and we're actually going to do it March 2019 again. So we're trying to do it an annual thing, and it was a panel discussion. So we had a moderator, and we had 4 women who have business in Bolingbrook, who grew their businesses from just the ground up, and we heard their stories, and so what they did to get started, the hurdles that they went through, and then they answered the questions that people had, because you're hearing about how somebody started their beauty salon, and how now they are they're hiring so many more people, and then somebody's like, well, but how did you do the HR part, or what drove you to start a beauty shop, or what drove you to start a bakery? So you get the stories of how they got where they are. And so we're going to have a different panel in March, and it's going to be at the library. And then it's going to be, again, the stories of these women and how they got to, our first panel, not necessarily everyone had $1 million, but they were underway. And so that's what we're going to have coming in March again.
Attending that, and we talked before we went on the air about we've got to find, as they said in the movie Jaws, we need a bigger boat. So we're gonna.
We got the big room. We didn't know if it was going to be, very successful or not. So we had a smaller room. It filled up. We had people sitting on the windowsill. We had people like waiting by the door. And so now we have a bigger space, and we are inviting everyone, expecting everyone to come.
If I recall, we had some folks from Bolingbrook Community Television there recording.
Yes, it was
And that got
recorded.
rebroadcast on community television. So that's a nice way to capture that.
Yes.
Great stories, though, and I would agree. The folks, you have this idea. You don't always know. Can I do something with it? You don't even think about it. Then you hear stories like they told.
Yes.
And so I'm going to divert a little bit before we start the programs. Before you retired, what industry were you in?
I was in the bakery ingredients industry.
Okay.
Basically, I always said I was a jack of all trades and a master of none. I've run sales forces, I've run distribution centers, I've run logistics, trucking. My last 15 years were spent working for a company that basically we sold everybody from Walmart to the little corner bakery.
Okay.
And I have a family was in the baking business, so I have a technical background in baking and food processing. So when folks want to start a bakery, a restaurant, food manufacturer, they all become my clients somehow. So
One of our presenters at the March event, actually, Cali Girl Cakes, Alicia Gozum, and does a phenomenal product. But I don't know if she reached out, but she's doing well, but she may reach out after this. So. And Michelle, you were 20 years.
Nonprofits a lot of the time, as well as some for-profits, but mostly like daycares, hospitals, a lot of things like helping with membership recruitment and retention, getting people in the door and getting them to stay, and groups like YMCA's, United Ways, Red Cross, companies like that.
That makes sense with the one presentation that I attended at Bank 2 with you, and now it comes together as to how that came about. And Nancy, you've been in the library industry
for my entire life, basically. I tell people my background is libraries. My first part-time jobs were, in school, and it was libraries. And I learned that, working for a library is not about just books. Yes, everybody who works in a library probably likes to read, but it's about reaching out to the community, and it's about being a people person, and it's about finding the needs of your community and finding a way to meet those needs, because at the core, you're here to serve that community. And so without support, you're not there. And so it's all about, how do we make a better community that we can enjoy living in?
My oldest sister worked, had the pleasure of working at the University of Notre Dame Library, and enjoyed that for many years, and had a great experience with that while she was alive. So, and so today you're doing web design and social media maven. How did you start out?
I was a corporate graphic designer for a Fortune 100 company, marketing consulting firm downtown. clients, everybody from McDonald's to BPM, everybody. And actually, I loved that job, and then got laid off. We wrote a nice little program and shipped everything off to India. And I say that was the best thing that ever could happen to me because I got to work for myself from that point. And I love what I do. Not a web designer though, a social media and digital media. I don't like web design.
Yeah, there's.
I could do it, but I don't like it.
Yeah, and I think in today's world, with certainly the explosion of social media,
Yes.
I think that talent is a very valuable one to have. Web design, you can hire some folks and find some folks, and Marty does that. Marty Barton does that, so
Yeah.
it's a nice, among many other things that she does. But well, thank you for sharing how you got to today and kind of your background. Let's talk about, we talked about the March activity. Let's talk about what's coming up with the Bolingbrook organization, part of the Fox Valley SCORE
So
chapter.
Michelle and Volante are actually going to take a whole year round program. So it's going to be a series of, I'm sorry, what was the
Boardroom boot camp for businesswomen.
in their roundtable. So people can come and they will listen to what they have to say, but it's a conversation. It's about this is the idea we're going to be talking about today, and then see how that applies to your business, see what kind of questions you have, see what kind of ideas you have. So not only coming in to learn, but to learn from each other, because everybody has a very different experience and everybody's at a different level on their business or the idea of a business. And so you want to, again, form that community, form that networking. You're going to be attending a roundtable, but by the end of the year, if you attended 12 of them, you're going to have a group of networking people that you can go to whenever something different. If it's a web question, or you're trying to market your business, you can get ideas. Or if you're just trying to, figure out the accounting, you can get ideas. And that's why it's the roundtables are so valuable, because you learn from each other. It's not just sitting listening to just a lecture. It's not that way.
Well, and I've delivered training over the years, mainly in software quality topics and things like that. But what I've always, and somebody taught me this years ago, and this kind of takes it way back. It was a person who was training folks to give up the typewriter for something called a computer. And so they did a very effective job of taking all the forms that people use to fill out on the typewriter, and then they put them in templates, what we know today as templates, and they showed them. That took away the fear, but what the style of delivery was interactive. And so you were given the instruction, but you created mentors within the session. And so they could learn from each other and support each other after the instructor was done. And I gather this feels the same way. And it's not a matter of memorizing everything, it's a matter of knowing where to find it. And that's what I found.
As well. So because it takes place in the library, then you have access to the spaces that we have. And so right now, collaborating spaces are very in right now, and now you can rent space in different places where people still meet at Starbucks. But we have all those, and we have different spaces. So we have anywhere from, we have study rooms on the 3rd floor, and if you're just a straight out meeting and you're talking to somebody, those are perfect. It's a table and that's it. But then if you are going to do work by yourself on your computer, we started putting cubicle style workspaces where you plug in your computer, you plug in your phone, and you have what you need right there. And then when you move on to the studio, we have group collaboration rooms where you can plug up to 6 different computers, project them on the screen, and have an interactive meeting, Skype people in if that's what you need to do. So have a more elaborate meeting, you can say that in that manner. So we have different spaces available for the community. We have different services available for the community as well. We've touched upon our studio, and it's a great way to get started, because a lot of small businesses, they're paying all this money to just have access to Adobe, and that is expensive.
yes.
Oh,
and
yeah.
not to figure, not
yeah.
only that, so now you have it, now what? If you come into the studio, not only do we have the latest software, but we also have somebody who can sit down with you and answer the specific question you have. You
Yes.
know, you don't need to learn how to do every aspect of Adobe. You need to do one pamphlet with this, this, and this, and then they can help you do that. So the next time you come in, you already have those skills, and then you can build upon that.
Good.
Yes.
So,
Something I want to point out very quickly that a lot of people don't know, if you're a Bolingbrook business and you don't live in Bolingbrook, you can still get a card at the library. And that's how I live in Romeoville, but my business is in Bolingbrook.
Good.
So I'm able to, and a lot of people don't realize that. So
Good.
it's, they're supporting both.
So we've got a few seconds left, and what I want to do, we've got the program. Where are we going to find information about the program that's going to be available for the upcoming year?
All information is going to be in the SCORE website, and it's going to be in the Fountaindale Library website, and on our newsletter that just got mailed to people's homes. So
Great.
everyone in the district should have gotten a
We
newsletter.
also have an 8,000 person constant contact list.
Okay.
And this will be sent to 8,000 people
Great.
a couple times.
A couple times, maybe more. And I'm sure the chamber will help publicize
Yes,
it
the
as
chamber will
well.
probably do
And
the advice.
village websites and message boards and billboards and all that. I want to thank you all for being here. This has been a fascinating discussion. It reminded me of the history of this. And I want to thank you for all of your efforts in helping those who are trying to find their way in business and in the community. I want to thank the volunteers of Bolingbrook Community Television for assisting this in getting this broadcast going and keeping us on the air. And to all of you in Bolingbrook, this time of year, I wish you the best and a happy new year. We'll be on the air next in January. And we do have some local residents with some national experience in sports. And we're going to have a father-son on talking about their experiences. So thank you again, and good night.